You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, but we have Jared, the Uber driver.
Hi, this is the Uber driver, Jared, the Uber driver from Texas.
So,
no, I'm just the only one out there.
The Uber driver.
So, what is up with the Dolphins and always trading away big players? I know they're getting a first rounder and I think third and fourth rounder. Go eat your snack, honey. Go eat your snack. Oh, gotta love when they're crotch height. Baby, go. But yeah, what is up with the Dolphins doing that? Like, I don't get, I've never seen a franchise trade away so many of their, what could be cornerstone players for picks. I mean, I get it, more picks, more players, less money spent. But like, if you have what you think is a player worth a first round pick trade plus, isn't that a player worth keeping? I don't know. And then, I was listening to like Packernet After Dark, and I have a question. Well, I understand that Garrett really wanted you to answer a lot of calls, and that's fine. That's cool. That's cool and all. I get it, but at the same time, you have a limited schedule. I also get that. But the fact that he said that he will stop the process of whatever is going to go on with his wife, she might think that you, Ryan Slip, depending what he saves in the phone, might be the other woman. So you might want to watch out. You might get some threats, all right? I'm just telling you. You might want to watch out. Anyways, have a good day. Go Pack, go.
What was that commercial? The Allstate or whatever it was, or the, what are you wearing? Khakis? Well, he's a guy, so. She sounds hideous. Well, he's a guy, so. It'll be a fun call into Packernet After Dark. Who is this? Why are you talking to my husband? Yeah, well, you got to remember Miami was just taken over by a new regime. Waddle's a good player, but they're not in contention for anything. They are in, we talk about teardown mode. They are in a complete and total teardown to the tune of, I forget the exact number, but it's like it's over $100 million in dead money right now on their salary. They're done. Like, they cannot do anything. Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, I think there's a few others that are on there, but the unbelievably massive salary cap hits. Imagine having like 130 or whatever $million just in dead cap money. So I think the general consensus, and I obviously haven't done a deep dive into the Miami Dolphins, but I tend to agree, is that they've been playing this kick the can down the road thing, thinking that maybe if we just get Tua a little bit more help or do a little bit of this and slap a Band-Aid on that maybe we could actually fix this thing or help it along or whatever the theory was. And it just needed to be tore down. And fortunately, they have a new organization, so they have no ties to Tua, they have no ties to Waddle or any of that kind of stuff. It makes sense from that standpoint. I mean, you want to keep guys that are going to be able to help you compete when you're a team that can compete for a title. If you can't compete, paying Jalen Waddle is just kind of throwing money into a furnace. So, depending on a guy's age, I mean, if I don't know, how old is Jalen Waddle? I keep referring to that, and I'm not entirely sure how old he is. Yeah, he's 27. That's still relatively young, but again, I guess they have a lot of work to do to build this thing up, and a first-round pick just felt like, first of all, I think that's too much value. I have no idea why you would give a first-round pick for. I know Waddle's a good player, but that's kind of crazy. I think they just saw a first-round pick was more valuable in helping them to build a team for 2028 or 2029 or whatever the case may be, than keeping Jalen Waddle around and paying him through the years of rebuilding.
Yo, Ryan, it's your Uncle Rico.
Ew.
What's happening? I wanted to put my 2 cents worth in on the Packers and their ability to stay afloat in Green Bay. I'm not worried about that. I understand all these things, and I guess I just have confidence that they'll make it work, And it only makes sense when people are like, oh, they're just using it as an excuse to raise ticket prices and blah, blah, blah. Well, from what I understand, our ticket prices aren't that wild, and I'm pretty sure they could be. All NFL ticket prices are wild, honestly, but Green Bay compared to other teams is not that wild. They're, Jesus, my vehicle's beeping.
I was going to
They're middle of the pack or less, maybe even.
Yeah.
When everybody knows we have a waiting list, so they could probably double the prices, and it wouldn't affect the attendance. It'd piss everybody off, of course, but anyways, so it only makes sense though, right? Every year the salary cap goes up, correct? Every year cost goes up. Everything goes up every year. So I don't know why people would think ticket prices won't go up every year. You can't pay players more. And, it only makes sense that ticket prices would go up. So anyways, it's not that I'm not concerned that the Packers are going to struggle to stay in Green Bay, but I'm not concerned because I know they will make it work. Whatever has to be done, they will make it work, and it'll work because it's the thing. So, like I said, I'm not saying that we don't have to stay current and keep up with everything else that's going on. I'm just saying they're going to make it work. So I'm not concerned. Go Pack, go. Rico out.
Well, and it's an important thing to remember about that whole article. They made it seem like, the way the thing was written and everything else, that it was, much more imminent, that there's definitely something bad that's about to happen kind of thing. And in reality, the entire article basically said, look, here's the reality. It sucks. Here are the challenges, just letting us all know, the information that they've probably known for the better part of a decade, which maybe was kind of new to a lot of us, myself included, just things we hadn't really considered or thought about. But at the end of the day, what did he ultimately say? We have a plan. We have a plan, and that plan includes some ticket prices, some expansion here, and there might be some couple little naming things, but we're not really planning on that being Lambeau Field. All right. It's definitely good to be aware of the reality and to not live in a diluted way in regard to the situation. But, again, the major takeaway here is here's the information, but we're not really worried right now. In other words, as far out as we can see and as we can predict, it's not the case that right now, if we continue on this trajectory, we will be insolvent. We will not be able to keep pace. That's not what he said, and that's not the message he was trying to convey. The entire point is we can see out into the future, and right now we have a plan to keep pace. That's what he said. So it's interesting information. It's somewhat unfortunate, but it is what it is, and I don't think we need to unnecessarily panic. Maybe a touch of panic or a touch of concern or an understanding of the urgency of the issue would be prudent, but panic probably not the best thing.
Hey, Ryan, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Yep.
Thanks for not skipping my call today. Just calling to say, kind of calling in to check in on Sal and his one of his friends that works at the paper mill because, in all seriousness, I just saw in the news that, correct me if I'm wrong, but was there a paper mill that just burned down in Wisconsin? So just checking in, hoping everybody's okay. But, yeah, this last storm that blew through, wow, that was something else. I know you guys got blizzards. We got tornadoes down here. But anyways, Packer news. Not much going on today, but I'm still kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop when it comes to Josh Sweat. I don't know about you, but I still believe there's a chance that they could go out and get him. With Inagari gone and Rayshon gone, kind of feel like that rotation has gotten thin real quick. So I don't know who they think they might target in the draft. And I was curious at who you think your top 3 players would be that they would go after. But I wouldn't mind seeing them get Josh Sweat either. So have a wonderful day. Hope you're not having to dig out too much snow. Don't throw out your back. Have a good one. I'm out.
Well, fortunately, you are speaking to future me, and future me had, I want to say it was like 70 degrees. Supposed to be like 70. I don't know. I was planning on grilling and whatnot, but the family was not around much today. So we'll save that for another day. I didn't really, aside from letting the cat in and out of the house, I pretty much didn't go anywhere. Seemed pretty nice, though. I did have to go outside and pick up a dead bunny. Stupid idiot cat decided to bring that to the back doorstep. Fortunately, I was able to pry it away before he decapitated it and does all the weird things that he does to bunnies. So that was great. It's always my favorite thing to do is clean up dead animals that my cat decides to massacre. Frickin' serial killer, dude. Anywho, yeah, no snow. I don't know about the paper mill thing. I did a quick Google search. I see that there it says here several fires have occurred in recent years with notable incidents in Menasha and Wisconsin Rapids. So I will we'll have to see. I don't know. I hope everything is going well there. As far as the draft goes, I'm a little torn because one of the most fun things you can do in the draft is find the my guys, the guys that I really like. It doesn't really matter if they're actually super good or anything. It's just for whatever reason, there's a certain style and whatnot that we all kind of like, and some guys have it, and I think that's fun. I think it's fun to have those personally. I think it's fun to hear other people's my guys. And that's just part of the process. On the other hand, I'm enjoying the possibility of maybe not doing that as much this year and kind of doing what like the media members do. You ever watch the draft? They're very like everybody in the draft is just great. You know what I mean? They're just this guy here. He's going to be a great starter for many, many years, and they're talking about like 4th round picks. 70% of these guys are not going to be good football players that end up getting drafted, but yet every single time somebody gets drafted, you got these guys that are on TV talking about, oh man, this guy's going to be so good, it's going to be crazy. I wouldn't hate looking through the lens of like, here's what's awesome about this guy, and trying to do that for nearly everybody. That way, when somebody gets drafted, I can just be excited. Not in a diluted sense, fully understanding that they may not be good, but just kind of trying to understand, I guess, the process. Trying to look at it and say, okay, here is, like it or not, here is the thought process on why we went in this direction. Here is the best case scenario, et cetera, et cetera. All that being said, I don't have any my guys. I don't have any real big preferences that may change. I have different thoughts as far as maybe who might be a good fit. We've talked about like Connor Liu and like the strategy behind that, which I don't really hate. But, at the end of the day, and it's like I've said this before, as long as he's a good player, I don't think any of us care. I really don't think anybody cares as long as he's a good player. You know what I mean? Like Edgerrin Cooper is a linebacker. It's really not a premier position. Every single one of us is jacked about Edgerrin Cooper. I didn't hear a single person in his rookie year when he was dominant say, yeah, but I still am upset that we drafted him. We shouldn't have drafted him. Nobody cares. Just be awesome. If they draft a guy that's a safety and he's an elite safety, that's awesome. I don't know exactly what we're going to do with him. Maybe he ends up taking over one of the spots from one of our other decent guys. Maybe we end up getting rid of Xavier McKinney. I don't know, but the bottom line is the guy's awesome, and I'm glad he's on the team. So it's not going to be that hard from that perspective to kind of get behind it and say, look, if he's awesome, I'll get behind it. The only question that matters is he a good player? Not why we don't need that position. Why would you pick that guy? So I don't know. And I haven't been hearing a ton from you guys either. Again, I expect this to happen as we get a little closer. But I haven't heard a ton of like, this is my guy. I want him to draft this guy bad. And again, I don't know if that's because we don't have a first round pick or if it's just too early or what the situation is. But not only just not in the calls, but just on social media and everything else. Have not seen a ton of that. So, bottom line, you guys let me know what you think. But as of right now, I don't have a bunch of guys that it's like I really want that guy, and there's also not a lot of guys that it's like I just don't want that guy. There is one, but we'll let that go. I'm gonna have to go in and find out why he's awesome because the more there's just one guy. And, of course, it's an edge rusher from a big program, so it's like, of course, we're going to freaking draft this guy. The more I commit to that, the more it just becomes likely that that's the guy we're going to draft. So I have to stop. All right, let's take our first break. We'll come back. We got Garrett Part 2.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, or as people in Wisconsin like to call it, Happy St. Lombardi's Day.
There you go.
Day where Chicago dyes the river green, and everybody in Illinois makes fun of them for celebrating St. Lombardi's Day.
I've never heard that.
Anyways,
before.
Ryan, I don't know if you wear green on St. Patrick's Day, but come think of it, I bet you wear green every day. You get to go down and make a podcast. You should be wearing green every day, Ryan.
It's true. It's my uniform.
You have no excuses. I mean, Inquiring Minds wants to know, what do you usually wear when you go to work these days?
I hope people don't want to know that.
I think people deserve to know what you're wearing.
Oh, boy.
Maybe we don't want to know what you're wearing. But anyways, happy St. Patrick's Day.
God,
don't
so weird.
Eat too many green cookies or anything like that. So
that got super weird, super fast. I don't know if I honestly didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day until I went online, and it's honestly the same way I found out that Chuck Norris passed away, unfortunately. Pretty sad to hear that, by the way. I kept seeing it pop up on social media. Like, why is Chuck Norris again and again and again and again? And I thought the feed algorithm was just like pumping it at me nonstop because I like watched one video. It's like, oh, you want to watch that all day long? I was very confused. Same with St. Patrick's Day. I kept seeing people in green and like St. Patrick's Day stuff, and it didn't click at first. Then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I bet today's St. Patrick's Day. That's interesting. And then I moved on with my life. I don't know that I've ever, I shouldn't say ever. When I was a kid, I cared about St. Patrick's Day. And in college, obviously, I cared about St. Patrick's Day. The day of great debauchery. But St. Patrick's Day in freaking Whitewater was ridiculous, by the way. I mean, that was literally because the bars, I'm trying to remember how that would work, but, the bars would have all these crazy deals where you buy like one of their shirts and then it's like, I don't know if it's like super cheap beer or whatever it is, but you get up early and head out to the bars. And that was literally a day on St. Patrick's Day where I would go home at noon and pass out and wake up and do round two. Like you had to go to bed at 11 o'clock or noon and sleep it off and then get back out after it. Wild times. Anywho, I don't really get super excited about stuff. Christmas is great. I love Christmas, mostly for my kids. Thanksgiving is cool. I dig Thanksgiving. I think, if it wasn't for like the family component, I don't know that I would really care about Thanksgiving. I wouldn't probably do anything. So it's, again, it's a family thing. I like my birthday, don't care. Father's Day and all that. I don't care. I don't want anything. I don't want to do anything. Grilling holidays are cool, but it kind of gets to, speaking of Whitewater, I remember, because Whitewater, they had, I don't know if it's still a thing or if it was a thing or what, Thirsty Thursday. For whatever reason on Thursday, people will go out and get crazy. And somebody would come over like on a Thursday and I would be not drinking and they would make some kind of a stupid comment. And I'm like, bro, I'm a 7-day-a-week guy. Okay? I don't care. Like I have been, I will be. Like there's no distinction from one day to the next for me. There's no special occasion on Thursday because I'm going to do on Thursday what I do on Monday, what I do on Sunday, what I do on Friday. All right? So you're an idiot and you're an amateur and you have no business talking to a professional alcoholic. That's why I don't drink anymore, by the way. So it's kind of the same thing where grilling holidays are cool, but at the same time, like I don't really need an excuse, It's just kind of like, whoa, dude, you know what we should do? We should grill. You mean like I did yesterday? Yeah, I mean, I guess we could. I was kind of probably would anyway, but that's fine. So, New Year's, don't care at all. I mean, that was one that I stopped caring about a very long time ago. That one's stupid. Probably got that from my dad, though. I remember every New Year, it's just another day. That just sunk into me pretty early on. So, yeah, bottom line, I don't care about St. Patrick's Day. I'm not going to choose my clothing based on what day it is. I don't know who St. Patrick is. I know it has something to do with being Irish and green. I don't know. I don't care. I just don't care. So, hope you had a good, St. Patty's Day, though. Hope everyone else liked it. 1265, what's up?
I apologize if I cut this short. I'm going to try to do this fast, but my call about Bob Harlan was skipped, so here we go. I got this with my stockholder certificate, and my dad got it for us back in the 90s. Dear Packer shareholder, we are truly delighted to extend a warm welcome to you as an owner of the Green Bay Packers, for you are an important part of both the most unique and most successful organization in the National Football League. The Packers are unique because we are the only community-based, not-for-profit franchise in a 30-team NFL. The Packers also have won more championships, 12, this was before the last one, than any other team in the league's 77-year history. The most recent championship, obviously, was won last year when the Packers defeated the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 31. When NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue visited Packers headquarters in Green Bay this past July, he had high praise for our organization. Quote, the Packers winning the Super Bowl, the commissioner said, is the best thing to happen in professional sports in years. It had all the wonderful ingredients. It is a community-based and community-owned team. It's historic Lambeau Field, and it is small-town America succeeding, end quote. We're special and we're proud to admit it. The Green Bay Packers story is almost more fiction than reality. It will never happen again. And by the way, this letter is signed Robert E. Harlan, President and CEO. So when he passed, that was tough for me because it was in memory of my dad. And my dad passed in 2024 at the age of 86. And I have my tickets in thanks to him. So, Pops, here's to you. Robert Harlan, here's to you. All right. Bye, guys.
No, it's very cool. That's it's cool that you have that. And I just saw they had I don't remember exactly what it was. I was going to talk about it on the podcast. Although I'm probably not going to have time to do it, unfortunately. So whatever, we'll do it in a couple days. They're going to be honoring Bob Harlan. I know that got postponed and whatnot. But obviously well deserved. And I had, kind of talked through. It's always very unfortunate. I remember this with some family members when you go to the funeral and they start telling stories, and I'm sitting there listening, and I'm like, why did nobody tell me this when he was alive? Like, the guy's like a superhero. He's always cool, but he's just like, it's old uncle guy, I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about him. He comes over for, family stuff, and we eat dinner and stuff. I don't know anything about it. Like, why would you not tell me this stuff? It can be that way sometimes in other areas. And, I think we all largely knew Bob Harlan. We knew of Bob Harlan. A lot of us knew what his role was, just very generally, like his title. But it wasn't until after his passing that, you kind of dig in a little bit and see some of the stories and whatnot, and you think, holy cow, that's very cool. And it's good to do that after somebody, passes away and whatnot in honor of them. But it also would have been nice to have that level of reverence for a person, to be able to show them, to demonstrate to them, to discuss, while they're alive and able to hear it and whatnot. But, I don't know. Either way, it was very cool to be able to hear a little bit about him and what he did and how personable, like you said, with that letter that he wrote, how good of a job he did, community owned and whatnot. It's not just in name, he gave it a very community type feel, going door to door and shaking hands and being very personable and up close with everybody. And, people that worked in the stadium and all that stuff, he really embodied that, which was very, very cool. So, yeah, it's, I don't know. You take a lot of the stuff for granted sometimes in terms of, it's just, when you think about football and whatnot, it's just a group of players playing football, but it's, it obviously is very, very big, and it goes very, very deep for a lot of people. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of family ties. Again, being morbid here, I know you mentioned your dad passed away. I'm sorry to hear that, but talking about passing away a lot, it's another thing. When somebody passes away, some of the memories you have of them are the Packer parties. It's one of the first things that comes to mind when you think of good memories with family and with friends are those times when the game was on and you're eating good food and you're cheering, they're up there by the TV screaming, and everybody's going, like, that's a part of your relationship with people, and that's why, it's when people say, you shouldn't say we, you're not on the team, bro, shut up. Like, you don't understand. And I'm not saying this is just a Packer thing. This is, a lot of fans are this way, but it's, being a fan of a football team or any team, the soccer team or whatever, for a lot of people and a lot of families, it's very deeply woven into the fabric of everything. So it's very cool. It's very cool that we have this, and we shouldn't take it for granted. So appreciate the call. Appreciate that, reading that. That was good to hear. Let's take our final break. We got a couple from Bruce on the other side.
Bruce El Paso. So, I think I know why, like, the Sal podcasts are good, man, but they're not, it's AI. I get it. And you're the master. But, I know I don't like it, and maybe I'm not the only one. But, I've not heard a rant, R-A-N-T, rant pod from you, sir, and I think Sal is taking away your rant, and I will not have it.
I don't want to give that credence because I don't want more people to hate the Sal podcast. I will say, like right now we're going through like a little, what would you call it? Going position by position or whatever. It's not very ranty. That doesn't mean there aren't things that I'd like to rant about. Well, I'll pass that off to Sal. Now, with that said, that is not to say I'm not going to. So, for example, on whatever today's or yesterday's Sal thing, that was kind of I think somebody sent that to me or tagged me on social media or something. I'm not positive where I saw that, but I have that. I didn't delete that. I have that saved. That will be discussed at some future point. I'll probably find some other things, and it'll be done in more of a me fashion. So, just to be clear, I'm not going to. If there's something that I genuinely want to passionately talk about, I will do it. In no way will I ever pass that off, because I know that is probably the top thing that for those that do like the podcast, that they like about the podcast. That's what I've consistently heard as far as feedback. So I would never want to farm that out. I guess in this instance, it was kind of more of a placeholder. It's interesting because the intention was never really for Sal to be like he is necessarily. He wasn't really supposed to be likable, and I think he is. He wasn't really supposed to be like me, and it's kind of a little bit becoming that way. I don't know. The initial plan was to be, angry, ranty, whatever, but more of like to be the other guy, to be the negative fan, to be the anti-Goot, anti-this, that, whatever. And it's just kind of morphed into something else. And I feel like it's probably better this way, but at the same time, there does end up being some overlap. But again, I will stand by what I said. I'm never going to farm out a rant to Sal. That's not going to happen. At best, you'll have what you had today, which was I'm not going to get to this anytime soon. I've got a bunch of other stuff that I'm doing right now, and so this is one of those. It's an evergreen thing, and one of the negatives about the evergreens and things like rants and whatnot, it's not time sensitive at all. I can do this at any point during the off season, and we have many months. Now, if it becomes less impactful if I say this is from 3 months ago, because people have changed their mind, especially if it's pre-draft, whatever. But I tend to kind of set it on the back burner so that we can get through all the other stuff. So again, I guess let me just assure you that there has never been a time where I wanted to do it and thought, nah, I'll just have Sal do it. That's not the case. It just hasn't happened yet, I mean, I go a long time without doing rant casts and all that, which I think, didn't I used to call it that? Or I had that on Patreon for a while, the rant cast, I think. It was like driving and talking about, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's all I can tell you, Bruce, is that I will not farm out rants to Sal. And I want him to kind of take on his own personality and not just embody mine. But I will say I supervised that one a little bit. It's like, what about this? I'm like, no. Here's the problem, and here's where this guy is a freaking jagoff, and here's what you're gonna say. All right, you got it. So that one might have a little bit more of a me flavor to it. But again, I will personally address that stupid article at some point in time.
Follow up. I mean, Ryan, I don't know how long I've been listening to you. I've been there from almost the beginning, maybe. But literally, I remember going to pick up I had to drop off my kids at school before I'd go to work, and I'd pop you on as soon as. So they would listen to you on the way up to school and on the way back. And usually by the time I was coming back down the hill from dropping off my kids, like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, kick into a rant, man, and I would literally pull over at this little park and sit there and just laugh my ass off. So we need rants, bro. That's all I'm saying. Come on, Ryan. Are you going PC on me, or well, I guess you've always been PC, but come on, man. Let me see it. Let me hear it.
Well, first of all, how dare you? This is the first time in my life I've been called politically correct. I guess to some degree that's true. It's just not the term I would. Family friendly, I think, is what I would prefer to call it. No, I get. It's funny because what the heck? I'm trying to think of an analogy, but I try to do all these different things, and we go through the news and we look at things analytically and whatnot. And sometimes it's funny because it's a bunch of people watching. Oh, I know what it's like. It's like Andy Bernard when they hired Will Ferrell as the boss, and he became like the office clown, and he had to do all kinds of stupid stuff like hurt himself and pour hot coffee on himself to make the boss laugh. And he tried to tell like actual funny jokes, and he's like, no, that's not. I don't want that. I don't want your intellect. I don't want your. The joke was let's keep politics out of the office. It was like a political joke or something. I don't know. And he just realized that he's just a friggin' dancing clown. At one point, he's like, "This is my life now." After like pouring hot coffee on himself. So I get what you're saying. I also, I don't want to force it. I hope you notice that when I go into a rant, it's not fake. That is not manufactured. It's genuine. So I can't necessarily manufacture these things out of thin air. And I don't really want to because I don't want it to become artificial. And it's hard, 7 days a week. Like, what am I going to be yelling about the Bears about? I can't think of things. But I will say this is where you guys can come in and kind of goad me along a little bit if you find something and just kind of like, oh, what do you think about this? Or kind of like what I said today with the list, which I'll be honest, I didn't even read the whole thing. I saw that we weren't in the top 10 and the Bears were, and I was pissed. And I just I put it in my notes as a save for later, and I got to work on set. And it was funny because I was listening to it because obviously the AI read the article and I didn't. And it started saying stuff. And as he was talking, I'm like, wait, what? The Lions are where? Like, this is the dumbest freaking art. Whatever. Again, I'm not doing it today. I'll do it at some point. But if the rants are what you want, the easiest way to do it is to provide the freaking the explosive material. Just saying. 1265. What's going on?
Hey Ryan. So now that I'm done with my blubber fest over with Harlan, and anyway, doesn't matter. That was a long time ago, and I came across it on my wall, and I'm like, you know what? You never played with Paul. I'm gonna call it in, and then I got emotional. I'm sorry. But and anywho, about the whole structure and how Packers are gonna for this only small market team left, blah blah blah. It really does bring up a lot of questions, and a lot of questions that are a little scary as a Packer fan, if you want me to be honest. It's going to be tough going forward with some of the stuff that other teams can do. And the bigger the group gets, and this is really sad for me, but the bigger the group gets, and if we go international or what have you, I feel like I'm getting more disinterested as things progress, and that's really sad for me. Don't worry, I'm not going to blow it. But, you are going to lose eventually part of the fan base, and hopefully there'll be newer fans to take that up, But I don't know. I don't know. I haven't liked the way this has been going for the last probably 5 years at the very least. And if you're saying that a team like the Packers can't survive, that very well could be. What happens if we go on a losing streak for a few years? Think about that. Do you think we can survive the 80s again? Think about that. we cannot survive that. I think the Packers would be done. I really do, you guys. It's sad, but the league is going in a direction that I'm just not fond of. And Ryan, part of it is the international thing. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. And our team is not going to benefit from that. So, all right. Well, I don't mean to be gloom and doom, but go Packers fan as of now. Go Packers.
Well, the one thing that I kind of came to that I'll reiterate about this, and I don't know necessarily the proportions. I can kind of take a second dive into it. It kind of hit me as I was talking. I was kind of thinking through it as I was going through the podcast because, like I said, I was struggling to wrap my head around it, and it was kind of coming into focus slightly as I was discussing it. But I think what's one thing that's kind of important to think about is that a huge proportion of the team's revenue is the shared revenue, which is a good thing. What the Packers want is for that and for the NFL to be massive, because our disadvantage is all the other revenue. And so if you just think about it, logically, if the shared revenue was 100% of all teams' revenue, we would be exactly on even footing. If it was 5% of our revenue, we would be screwed, because we are at a 95% of our revenue is the area where we have a disadvantage. So what we really want is to be in a position where the NFL provides the shared revenue, and that shared revenue grows and grows and grows and grows. So as the NFL gets bigger, and this is where international stuff comes in, as the NFL grows with the TV deals, the gambling, the expansion, and it means more revenue for the NFL largely, what that's going to do is it's going to, as we see this explosion, we're seeing the explosion of money coming in, the explosion of the salary cap, that's correlating to an explosion in revenue to the NFL, which logically would mean an explosion in the shared revenue. And this is where it's going to be hard for other teams to make up any kind of sizable amount of money as a percentage outside of the revenue that's coming. In other words, the rate at which the NFL is growing, it's going to be so hard for teams to match that rate, because you're not really growing. You have an area that has a hotel, a nice restaurant, and all these things, but it's not growing. You might increase rates a little bit, but you're not expanding. This is your area, and it's all built out. So the revenue that they have, these centers that are generating, the percentage of their total revenue coming from that as opposed to the NFL is going to shrink, and that's good for us. We need the NFL to be able to outpace what any of these teams are able to generate outside of the amount of money they generate with concerts and things like that, because those are the things we can't keep up with. And so we need the NFL. What will work out best for us is for the NFL to continue to explode in revenue. If the NFL stagnates and doesn't grow, and then all these other teams start to grow and grow and grow in terms of their revenue, that's where we start to get left behind. So honestly, and again, maybe I'm wrong about this, but from the way I'm looking at it, the best thing that can happen for the Packers is for the NFL to continue to rapidly grow and bring in massive amounts of money, because these other teams are trying to find ways to make money outside of the NFL. And we need to make sure that never becomes any kind of sizable amount of money compared to what the NFL can bring in, so that we're all on even footing no matter what. And that'll also help teams weather storms. Because if we are not winning games, okay, that means what? Well, we're probably still going to sell out. I don't know that, but I would assume. So I don't know that ticket prices are necessary. Maybe the ticket prices won't be going up as much. I don't think they're ever going to come down, but I don't think that maybe they won't go up as fast. But ultimately, that's going to be a drop in the bucket. And then what? We're missing out on revenue from like that one playoff game, and maybe some jersey sales and a couple other kind of things. But again, at the end of the day, if the vast majority of the money that comes in is through the shared revenue of the NFL, that's what's going to massively benefit us the most, at least in compared to, maybe not in comparison to the entire revenue stream, but in comparison to the difference between a good season and a bad season for the Packers. That gap of, I don't know, $10 million, let's just say, in lost revenue because now we're a 4-win team or something. It pales in comparison to the $500 million of revenue that is coming in. And so it should offset or kind of mean that we're all going to be fine, and it doesn't really matter. I'm assuming that's not the case, hence the reason everybody feels the squeeze and the need to go out and do all these things. Now, it's possible a lot of these guys are doing it because they own the business and they want more revenue and they want to expand their brand and how much money they make and how much revenue and value, the valuation of their not even their team, their corporation, basically. But whatever. The point is, I think what's best for us is for the NFL to continue to experience this boom, and unfortunately, Roger Goodell probably is the best guy for that. As much as I'm not a huge fan of him, and I wish that he was more focused on keeping football a little more pure as opposed to going out and just trying to make a quick buck. As long as the NFL is rapidly growing and bringing in massive profits and is dwarfing, the amount of money that we're earning, then I don't see any reason why the Packers would genuinely struggle. But again, I could be very wrong about that. This is all kind of a new thing, so. And it's interesting, so I'll continue to poke around, and if you have any thoughts, you or anybody else, feel free to call in, and if I missed anything or if you had any separate thoughts on it, I'll continue to kind of think this through. But right now, that's kind of where I'm at, and I think the Packers are going to end up being okay. And the point being, they should be fine even in bad times. The thing that could possibly suffer would be if people stop showing up, but I don't think people are going to stop showing up. I don't know. We can't be sure of that. If we have 3, 4, 5 seasons in a row, 6, 7, 8 in a row of losing seasons, missing the playoffs, do I know we're still going to be like, we take a lot of pride in the 80s fan base, but this isn't the 80s. I don't know what today's fan base would do. Would we show up? Are we as committed? I have no idea. But I would like to think that we are and that we would still sell out the stadium. And because we're selling out the stadium, that means that, the Titletown district will still continue to thrive and benefit from that. You're not going to have them going out of business and everything because they depend on that season much more than something in Los Angeles or whatever that's still going to be able to thrive even outside of a football season, which is another problem that the Packers have with Titletown. It's very dependent on the Packers, obviously, because you remove the Packers and it's like, why is this so overdeveloped? Like, all these businesses are going to go belly up. So, anywho, definitely understand the concern with it. This is, Ed Policy just took over, and it seems like his goal is to make the fan base just panic. Just everything he says is like, wait a minute, what are you talking about, dude? What's happening to the Packers? But, again, I think it's important to remember that ultimately he said, here's the reality, and we have a plan that should see us through. But it's something to, I guess, keep an eye on. It's something to be aware of. It's something to think about and maybe better understand. I think it's a good way to better understand our franchise. These are important details that I think most of us had never really considered or thought about. Like, we know we're a small market team, but the idea of other teams out there running hotels or having hotels on their property and running districts as opposed to just teams and stadiums, it becomes like I don't know what you'd even call it, a district, I guess is the best way to put it, but I mean, you got shows, you got concerts, you've got hotels, you got restaurants, you got venues, you got all these different things there. And it's much bigger than just a football team at that point. And it seems like the NFL is kind of moving in that direction where 32 teams are going to have to start doing that and thinking in those ways. And the Packers, again, this is Mark Murphy being a forward-thinking person, obviously saw the writing on the wall and began constructing Titletown District. I don't even know how long ago that was, but this was a long time ago that he saw this coming and is already ahead of the curve, ahead of other teams that haven't even done this yet. You got some that are working on it. You know, the plans are in progress to build out their multi-billion-dollar stadiums and whatnot. I'm sure the Bears, once they get their new stadium, will be looking to do the same kind of thing. But we've got, the point is we've got good leadership, and I think whatever's coming up ahead, just like with the Titletown District, they're going to stay several steps ahead, and I think everything will be fine. So, all right. I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate all the callers. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Uncle Ricos up ahead. So we'll cut it there and we'll save that for tomorrow. And I will talk to you later. Again, I'm a little annoyed that it's as late as it is. I swear my time management is just, it must be, or this just takes longer than I think all the time. Because every time, wow, I got plenty of time. And I was like, I'll do the after dark first so that it's done by 10. And then I'll have time for the other one, and I don't. So, anywho, I gotta work that out, and I guess that's what happens when you add a bunch of stuff to your schedule. You should expect it to take up more of your time. Common sense. All right, I'm out of here. You all have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.